just like a lot of you guys, one of my favorite things, or my favorite thing about a market crash or a crypto market crash, is the fact that you could pretty much buy stocks or cryptocurrency kind of at like a Black Friday deal, because you know there's literally no other reason that this company or this crypto should be this cheap. Yeah, it sucks to lose money, but that part is really cool. But you know, that's just me. What is up, guys? My name is Darren Jackson. Welcome back to the channel. And one of those cheap cryptocurrencies that I bought during this little mini crash in the crypto market that we had was Cardano. I am ridiculously bullish on Cardano. And today I want to tell you guys why, and maybe persuade some of you guys that have either bought some and you may or may not want to buy more, or that have not bought any at all and may not know what it is, and to actually buy some and what it can mean for this entire world. It's really crazy. But in order for me to explain what Cardano is, I'm first going to need to explain a lot of the more popular cryptocurrencies to come before it. So in 2008, the person or the group named Satoshi Nakamoto introduced the world to something we know today as Bitcoin. Bitcoin was meant to be known as the gold digital currency, which it still is today. Bitcoin was created to solve the problem of having a centralized form of some type of governance verifying transactions between peers or between institutions or companies. So what they did was they created a decentralized form of currency, which we know as Bitcoin, and other currencies such as Litecoin and Dogecoin, to be able to use an online decentralized form of verification with these miners or nodes. Basically, everyone within the network will be verifying a transaction. So it became a lot quicker and it was more efficient. And that was known as the first generation of currency. However, there are still a lot of issues that Bitcoin has had, and some of the two that it has currently is that the transaction verification process is fairly slow, which we'll go over in just a little bit, and also the system's outdated. The system's outdated because it uses a process in its network called a proof of work verification. The proof of work process is where you have individual computers verifying transactions and adding them to the blockchain until they create one block that can be pushed along before another block is created. Those verifiers are called miners. The issue with it being outdated is that the more and more popular that a cryptocurrency gets, the harder it is to verify a transaction. And with Bitcoin, they also have something called the halvening, which basically means that over some period of time, the process of verifying a transaction to get a certain amount of cryptocurrency in Bitcoin becomes twice as hard. So to compensate for that, you're going to need a PC that's a lot stronger than the one you currently have, which means you're going to have to spend more money and you're going to have to use more energy in the form of electricity. We know electricity is powered by the burning of fossil fuels. You get my point. It's not as carbon neutral as we want to be, which is why it's outdated. So then we're introduced to the second generation of cryptocurrencies known as Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is pretty much the same thing as Bitcoin, except its transaction verification process is a lot faster, and it actually uses tokens called ERC20 tokens, which basically enable users and developers to create smart contracts. Smart contracts are very similar to programs that you could create via the internet, like applications you may even see on the phone. One of the bigger things right now that's going along because of Ethereum are NFTs, being able to buy paintings and videos of cats and LeBron James dunking, even though you can watch it on YouTube, but that's neither here nor there. That's because of smart contracts, which was brought in by Ethereum, which is great. But however, Ethereum is still problematic. For starters, they also use a proof of work system, but I will put an asterisk on that because there is an Ethereum 2.0, which isn't fully set up yet, but they plan on using proof of stake, which we'll talk about later, but they're still using proof of work. Also, the verification process is a little faster, but still not as fast to be able to attract a lot of people to use the system, which is something that Ethereum wasn't ready for. When Ethereum was made, the developers had no idea that it would be as big as it became. So whenever you have a verification process that can only handle so much and the supply of people comes in, the demand's gonna shoot up. So that makes the verification process a lot slower, and it also affects something called the gas fees. The gas fees are fees that Ethereum charges to pretty much do anything. There's a really great video by one of my favorite YouTubers, Andre Jick, and he makes a great point on explaining what gas fees are. You can basically think of it, as he said, as taking a metro bus somewhere. As soon as you walk in on the bus, you pay a gas fee. You walk down the little walkway to find a seat, gas fee. You sit down, gas fee. You leave, gas fee. Point is, there's gas fees everywhere, and currently the gas fee comes into a currency known as GUI, and according to CoinMarketCap, it's about 78 GUI to be able to do anything within the Ethereum blockchain. And that amount shoots up again by the demand. Don't worry guys, one GUI is about the equivalent of 1 billion Ethereum, but again, you'd rather not be spending anything at all or little to nothing when it comes to verifying transactions. So we want something that can handle the amount of people coming in that are very attracted to its blockchain, and something that can verify a lot of transactions at one period of time, and something that's a little more energy efficient than proof of work. And that's where we introduce a third generation called Cardano. Now, Cardano was created by Charles Hoskinson, who is actually the co-founder of Ethereum, and he actually left for some reasons that I can't really remember off the top of my head. But point is, the third generation, being Cardano, has the goal of basically being the best of what Bitcoin and Ethereum can't be at this moment. And in doing that, they want to solve 3 different issues when it comes to blockchains and networks, and that's interoperability, scalability, and sustainability. So in order for cryptocurrencies blockchain to be widely used by people all around the world, it's gonna have to really focus on how many transactions it can actually verify per second. And that's where scalability comes into play. So previous cryptocurrencies can only verify so many transactions per second. For example, you have Bitcoin, which can verify between 4 to 6 transactions per second. Then you have Ethereum, which is the generation 2, that can verify between 21 to 30 transactions per second. Cardano is trying to change that with its whole proof of scale blockchain network. Now, currently, it can verify about 6 to 7 transactions per second, which is less than Ethereum right now. But there was actually a recent study on the Ouroboros Hydro network at a university or some research center where they were able to say that each node could actually verify a max of 1,000 transactions per second. And if you fill that up to 1,000 nodes, you're talking about 1 million verifications per second at best that this network of Cardano could actually verify. And if it reaches that point, the amount of people that could use this network based off what it brings to the table is significantly high. The amount of bottlenecking that you would face is really minor, which is what happened to Ethereum. So that is something that Cardano is ultimately working on doing with their proof of scale network, making sure that it can verify as many transactions per second, more than any other cryptocurrency in the market right now, which is really beneficial in one other way, which we're going to talk about in a second. So the next part we have is sustainability. And if you do research on what sustainability is when it comes to crypto, you may find 2 different explanations. We're going to focus on both. One being the energy efficiency aspect of it, and the other it being what I like to call it keeping up with the times. I'll explain that more in a bit. When it comes to the previous cryptocurrency and the previous couple of generations, the amount of energy required is super heavy. So with Bitcoin, for example, it works off a proof of work network, which requires miners to verify transactions. And the more that you want to be able to be rewarded, the more you're gonna have to be able to mine within a given period of time. If you want to be able to mine more, you're gonna need a computer with a high GPU, a really strong graphics card, basically a really expensive computer. And typically the stronger it is, the more energy it's consuming to be able to stay on for days in and days out. And the more energy in the form of electricity it's using, the more fossil fuels are burning. And the more fossil fuels are burning, you see where I'm going here. It's not carbon neutral, which is where we're trying to be at with the world. Whereas proof of stake is what Cardano uses. Now, proof of stake is fairly similar to proof of work, except for a couple of things. So for one, on the proof of work side, the nodes that are verifying transactions are called miners, and on proof of stake side, they're called forgers. And the way it works is that each person that wants to qualify to verify a transaction within the Cardano proof of scale blockchain has to put up their own Cardano ADA tokens to stake out. They're essentially putting their own coins for collateral. Now, the network will randomly pick nodes, or I guess a better way to think about it, computers owned by individuals to verify transactions. It's random, but the chances that you have of being called out to verify transactions increases the more you put out at stake. So the more you own and the more you put out at stake, the higher chance you have of verifying. You want to be able to verify transactions because just like miners on the proof of work side, you'll be rewarded with more ADA or percentage of it. But here's the benefit. On the proof of stake side, you're more financially invested. You're literally financially invested into making sure that every transaction that is verified and every project that is confirmed to be approved to be worked on the blockchain will only enhance and only benefit the blockchain. You don't want anything detrimental to Cardano blockchain, because if so, then the amount of money you will get back, especially if you approve a bad transaction, will be little to zero. And the entire currency will drop, and the amount of money that you have left won't be worth as much as it once was. Best way I can explain this is that proof of work is someone that may work a 9 to 5. They may not really care about how the company does. It may be their first job. They just want to make sure the company doesn't go upside down. And as long as they go to work, they're going to get paid their $12 an hour. Proof of work. On the other side, you have someone that may own the business, or they may get an annual bonus based on how their company does and how their department does or something like that. So the amount of work they do, and not just the amount of work, the better work that they do, the more they're actually going to get paid at the end of the year. They're actually invested into the company. Proof of stake. So the other aspect of sustainability that I almost forgot to mention was the idea of keeping up with the times, like I said before. So the whole purpose of sustainability for a blockchain is for it to be able to use its smart contract to create developer applications so that it can do things that other cryptocurrencies are doing. Obviously, as cryptocurrencies are being created, there are certain demands for different things, and Cardano wants to be able to keep up with that. But there's obviously a financial aspect to it. So one thing that they did that's really cool is that they create a decentralized treasury. So the treasury gets its money partially from the fees that are collected when a person initiates a transaction or initiates something within the actual blockchain itself. And the actual treasury is kept in ultimately to be given out to a developer that wants to add something to the program or to the blockchain that will only be beneficial to the blockchain. And just as nodes of people with a lot of Cardano ADA at stake, those same people are going to verify the actual idea that the developer has. Maybe multiple developers, and they're going to verify all, kind of like a Shark Tank type situation. And whoever wins, they're going to invest money into them with the money from the treasury. So the treasury itself will give ADA tokens to the developer so they can use that money to be able to develop whatever application, whatever program to the network that will ultimately be beneficial to the network. And that'll help a lot of other people, like the proof of stake people, so that when they get their money back, they're getting more money, and ultimately ADA shoots up. It's a pretty cool thing. The third thing that Cardano is trying to solve is interoperability. Interoperability, okay, yeah, we get the point. Basic terms is being able to transport information from one blockchain to the next. Cardano essentially sees itself winning if all other blockchains are winning. So for example, you may have one blockchain that's really good at exchanging currencies from one country to the next and easily converting it to make it an efficient process, just like Stellar, which I talked about in the previous video. And you may have another blockchain like Cardano that will ultimately be really good at verifying and validating a lot of transactions within a small given period of time. Ultimately, it'd be really beneficial for users to not have to pick and choose what blockchain they want to use, but instead to invest into the entire idea of a blockchain, starting from Bitcoin. So Cardano wants to be able to use interoperability to use a language to be able to communicate with other blockchains. So ultimately users can have the best of both worlds, be able to exchange currency, have a fast validating transaction, all on a blockchain that uses smart contracts to be able to create apps and do other stuff like that. And ultimately, if Cardano is able to do that, it's very possible that the theories that people have of it surpassing Ethereum will be very high, because Cardano, especially considering that it's created by the co-founder of Ethereum, is trying to one up all the mistakes and all the problems that Ethereum has. And if it's able to do that, then I see no reason why it shouldn't surpass Ethereum within the next 3 to 5 years. There are a lot of people that feel like by the end of this year that Cardano is gonna hit $10 per coin, which I personally think would be amazing. I'm sure a lot of us would think that. And right now, it's a little between $1.70 and $1.80 per coin at the making of this video. And that's primarily because of the recent crash we had earlier this week, which I've spoken about a lot of times, and you guys have probably heard about a lot of times. And there's actually one video that I saw, and I'll put the link in the comment below if I can find it again, but someone actually believed that Cardano could reach up to $1,000 per coin, I believe by the end of this year. The chances of that happening would be pretty slim to none, unless something crazy happens, and the market cap would have to shoot up to the trillions. I haven't done the math on the top of my head, but I know it'd have to shoot up to the trillions. But hey, if it doesn't, I'm not gonna be mad. We'll see what happens, but again, guys, I'm really bullish about Cardano, but that's just me. What do you guys think about Cardano? Are you invested into it? If not, why not? If so, how much? What do you think about Cardano in the future? And speaking of other cryptos, make sure you watch some of these other videos I made of cryptocurrency and just other videos I made on investing in general. I sincerely hope they help you guys on your investing journey as they have in mine. I appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, take care.